everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over all of the travel details from my mom and I's trip to Charleston this past weekend. We got to see so much and really jam-packed a lot in the long weekend. We actually left on Friday. We had a very early flight. We did the 5 a.m. flight from Kansas City to Charlotte, and then hopped on a little plane from Charlotte to Charleston. So we got in. It was a little bit rainy on Friday, but that definitely didn't slow us down. It just kind of did some light sprinkling on and off. So for that being the worst weather that we had all weekend, we were pretty fortunate. But we got in, checked into our hotel. Seriously, you all, we stayed at the most gorgeous hotel. It was the Charleston Harborside Resort and Marina, and I would highly recommend it. It's actually in Mount Pleasant, which is not in the downtown area. We rented a car when we got to the airport and actually drove ourselves to our hotel, checked in, and then we had the whole day to start exploring. So Friday we did the city market, which I would highly recommend. It was so much fun. It's basically this big long mile of different cute little boutiques and shops and vendors and people making lots of artisan crafts and home goods, and it just was so fun. For maybe not as much fun for guys, but for girls, you will love it. And it's actually right in the heart of downtown, so up and down both sides you'll see horse-drawn carriages. You can do cute little horse and buggy carriages. There's also tons more shops up and down Market Street, shops and really quaint restaurants and bars. And then after we did Market Street, we actually walked over to King Street, which is another big street of just really cool, unique shops, restaurants, and we walked all the way down to Hotel Bennett, which a few people had recommended. It's a really gorgeous hotel. I'm sure it has a lot of really cool history, but one little hidden gem is there is this really awesome rooftop bar, and so my mom and I actually did some heavy appetizers and drinks for dinner that night at Hotel Bennett. Got an Uber actually back to the Charleston Hotel Resort and Marina. And the great thing was that hotel, I didn't realize it when I booked it, but it actually has a complimentary shuttle that just continually goes round and round and round on a loop all day long. So on the hour, every hour, it will take you from the resort in Mount Pleasant, where the harbor is, all the way down to downtown. So we just got an Uber back after that, and then we did a little hot tubbing later that night, which was super great. They've got amazing pools there. We actually, this trip was obviously in January, but if you're there in the summertime, the pools would be incredible. There were 3 of them that you could go between the different resorts. So the next day, it was a Saturday, and the fun part about where we're staying is obviously it's in the harbor. And we were actually able to take a water taxi from the resort and marina to downtown. So we did the water taxi, which was really cool. It made for awesome shots of the bridge that kind of connects the little peninsula to one another. And so we got to then get dropped off right at Waterfront Park, which is where the really cool pineapple fountain is, if you're familiar with that. So we did some pictures there. Then we walked by Rainbow Row, which is a very famous site in Charleston. It's just this big long row of kind of Georgetown style pastel colored houses. So that was really fun. Of course, we had to do a photo op, and after that we just actually walked along the water. They call it the Battery, which kind of overlooks Fort Sumter, which is, for those of you that are history buffs, the start of the Civil War. And I think that was just one of my favorite parts about Charleston, is just the history. There's so much history everywhere, and every building has a story. And it's just a very friendly city to do a lot of walking and sightseeing. All the homes in that area right across from the Battery are beautiful. And you just imagine yourself living in that era and that time, and it just is really incredible. So love downtown Charleston. And then actually Saturday afternoon, after all of our city exploring, we actually were able to then go to our first plantation, which was so much fun. We actually visited Boone Plantation that afternoon and got really, really great tour. We were able to see all of the different parts of the plantation. Slavery is such an important part of American history, and while it is a little bit morbid and sad to learn about what happened at some of these plantations, it's just really, really informative and incredible seeing just just how well they've preserved everything. So shout out, I would highly recommend Boone Plantation. After that, we actually drove to a couple of the different beaches nearby. So the two that we did were Sullivan's Island, which actually has a really cute little lighthouse that you can go see. And then the other one was Isle of Palms. So we did our beach thing. Obviously we were there in January, so swimming was not in the cards for us, but we were able to just kind of relax on the beach. Actually at Isle of the Palms, there's a couple little kind of beach restaurants and bars there. So picked up a drink, walked along the beach. It was a fantastic way to end the evening. And then that night, we actually went back to our hotel, obviously, freshened up, changed, and we went back to downtown with our shuttle. You guys, I had the best dinner. And what was funny was I had a lot of recommendations for dinners to do and see in Charleston. But all of the places we forgot to make a reservation, which I would highly recommend if you want to go out to some of the best restaurants in Charleston on a Saturday. You need a reservation. So I actually did not make a reservation, and we ended up making a super last minute one at this place called Five Church, Charleston, which ended up being the best decision of all time because it was the best food of all time. And the atmosphere was so cool. It's actually this restaurant that's converted into this old church. It actually used to be, or I think they said it was the first Episcopal church for the sailors back when Charleston was just the harbor port. And so in the restaurant, it's still got all of the old stained glass windows, the ceiling, like just the decor is amazing. You have to, just trust me, go to Five Church Charleston. It will be worth it, and order the salmon. I kid you not, it was the best salmon I've ever had in my entire life, and I don't rant and rave all too much about food, but it is great. I highly recommend it. And the next day, Sunday, our last full day, we actually had a lot of fun too. We got up and had breakfast at a super cute little restaurant. It was called Hot Callie's Southern Biscuit, I believe. And we got to see them making the dough for the biscuits. Biscuits are such a big thing in the South, and you've got to try some biscuits. I will say I didn't bring up the other breakfast places that we had went to, but a couple other of our favorites were Park Cafe. Amazing food, and the venue and dining is just so cute and unique and hip and trendy. And another one that we also went to was Gnome Cafe, and then, I think it was just called Gnome. Super cute on the outside. It's got this like old green like vines all up and down it. It's kind of got that like more modern, again, trendy feel. And then another one that we did was Vicious Biscuit, which was highly recommended by a lot of people. Whenever you go to Charleston, you need to eat at Vicious Biscuit, and it was definitely vicious, let me tell you. I'm gonna let the video speak for itself here. We're here at the Vicious Biscuit. Highly recommended. We're about to have this large biscuit the size of my face. Stay tuned. But anyway, after our big breakfast at Callie's Hot Little Biscuit, we did our drive to our second plantation, which was Magnolia Plantation. And you guys, it was incredible. I will admit I liked Magnolia Plantation much more than Boone Plantation. Not that Boone Plantation wasn't great in its own way, but man, Magnolia has such beautiful property. The tours were so fantastic. We did 2 of them while we were there. One was through the plantation home, and then the second was actually an animal tour. So we got to see all of these alligators that are on their property. It was seriously the craziest thing I've ever seen. We probably saw like 6 or 7 alligators while we were there. It's completely nuts. And then after our time at Magnolia, we actually hopped back in the car and drove to the Charleston Tea Plantation, which is not your traditional farm plantation tours and all of that. It's actually a working tea farm, and believe it or not, it's the only tea farm in the United States, which is just crazy. So they make their own tea there. You can do tea tastings. They have this adorable little trolley that we did a trolley tour through the different tea fields, and it was just so cute. The gift shop was super cute. We packed up and bought a bunch of tea to bring home for our friends and family. And then obviously we freshened up for dinner, and that night we went to another great recommendation. It was abbreviated SNOB, kind of funny, but it stood for, I believe, slightly north of Broad, which I believe is a street in downtown Charleston. The food was fantastic. One of my friends, my good girlfriends from college, recommended it. Shout out Katie Hunter, thank you so much. It was fantastic. That kind of wrapped up our trip in a nutshell. Like I said, I would highly recommend visiting Charleston if you've never been. South Carolina has so much Southern charm, just from all of the big oak trees to the Spanish moss to, you know, even just the angel oak tree. I didn't even talk about that. There's like this really cool old tree. It's like the oldest tree east of the Mississippi that's like ginormous and just really cool. And so I would highly recommend, add it to your list. It'd be a great trip, I think, to do with kids. It just seemed like a lot to do, a lot to walk around and see. That was even free too, which is really great whenever you're traveling in the city and want to keep on a tight budget. Maybe you're looking for something that isn't going to be a super big international flight and you just want a weekend getaway. I would highly recommend Charleston. And the great thing too is that you can go in January and still have an amazing trip, not have to save it for the summer. Maybe it's your next spring break vacay, I don't know. If you go though, make sure and let me know. Make in the comments below, maybe there's something that we missed that we have to go back and see. I'd love to know your feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing, liking this video, sharing it with your friends that might be interested in a southern vacation. Thanks so much guys, we'll see you next time.